If you like facts and figures when it comes to learning about your fertility treatment, then you're going to like the information that comes from SART, which stands for the Society for excuse me, the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology. SART.org is a website that provides information to help you understand IVF, your chances for success, and it can help you make educated decisions based on your needs and plan for family building. And today on Lunchtime Live at the Center, our lab director, Dr. Alison Bartolucci, is back with us to talk about SART and what you can learn from it. Hey, Dr. Bartolucci, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, I think it's our third time, right?
I was counting.
Right. So what is SART? What do they offer?
So, as you mentioned, SART stands for, we love acronyms in case anyone hadn't noticed in this
Yeah.
field. It stands for the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology. And it's really, I don't know how many patients even know about it, but I do think it's important for everyone to know because it's really how we kind of self-govern ourselves and regulate ourselves. Um, it is the primary organization for most of the IVF professionals in this field. And it's more than just, it is a membership, but it's more than just a membership of a club or something like that. SART actually sets the very high standards by which we all have to meet in order to maintain our membership. And they make sure that we do. So they set the standards for clinical outcomes, pregnancy success rates, laboratory rates, safety, patient care. So not only do we follow all sorts of federal regulations and state regulations, but we also have this other body that is really the cream of the crop, that we, as members of SART, we are saying to our patients that we maintain the highest possible levels of patient outcomes and care.
So how is that? How is SART related to ASRM? And what does ASRM stand for too?
Yeah, another one. So ASRM is the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, and SART actually started off as a sort of a special interest group within ASRM. So they are very much connected. But SART is more about focused on outcomes. So ASRM, obviously, everyone is focused on outcomes. That's how, that's our business. That's what we do. But SART is very specific in saying that this is what we are doing in terms of pregnancy outcomes, and this is what you should be doing or exceeding in terms of meeting, what the national average is. And they look at the outcome of each and every cycle. So every clinic that's a member of SART has to report the outcomes of each IVF cycle that comes through here. So it's pretty astounding. And there's not many other fields, if any, that have that level of sort of oversight.
So there are some clinics that don't are not a part of SART. Why is that important to be a part of SART? Or why is it important to a patient?
As it would be important to me as if I was a patient, because it's just another level of voluntary, compliance in terms of I would know if I were a patient, I would know that if they're a member of SART, this clinic I know is meeting these standards, that because they wouldn't be a member if they weren't. And SART is extremely strict about ensuring that. For states like Connecticut that have insurance coverage, many insurance companies don't even pay clinics that are not members
Oh,
of SART.
okay.
So that's important too,
Yeah.
because they know the importance of, getting the most value for their patient in terms of care and outcomes.
So what do they measure? What information do we provide them?
So there's a lot of information that we provide them. A lot of it is clinical in terms of what happens when we transferred an embryo. Did it result in a pregnancy, a miscarriage? Were there twins? They're very focused on that. But as the years have gone on, there's a lot from the laboratory as well, which is important. So there's fertilization results or rates, the rates of blastocyst development. Not all of that is seen on the reports that you can go to on their website, but they collect all of that.
Okay.
And as a clinic, you can have access to that, and you can see what the national averages are.
And so they record the success rates for IVF cycles, right?
Yeah, so the main thing that they're looking at, and the main thing, the outcome that you can see on their website, anybody can go to their website and see, are the pregnancy rates.
Hmm.
So they have it broken down by age, of course, because that's the most important variable. Um, but you can see that for every patient that came through our door, what percentage of them left with a baby? It's not even just a pregnancy, left with a live born infant.
Okay. Um, what else is available on their site besides that information and data?
And they actually, SART has grown so much. So, it went from starting from this small special interest group that was, about collecting outcomes to help clinics report to the CDC, to this real, probably one of the most underused resources for patients. If you go to their website, they've done a really nice job of separating it for professionals and for patients. And you can see that they have a whole library of educational videos on all sorts of different fertility treatments. They have expert podcasts
Yeah.
with fertility, with physicians and laboratory specialists. They have tons of like facts and figures and resources. And then one thing that they did fairly recently, which is really interesting, is they have a predict my success tool. So you can go in and click on this predict my success and enter in your age and other important sort of general health information things, fertility history, and they will tell you, of course it's very generalized and there's a disclaimer, but in a general sense, what your likelihood of your success would be if you did IVF, if you did donor egg, if you did PGT, with all sorts of different treatment options, which we in here at CARS have found to be a very useful tool in terms of helping with educating patients, or sort of managing patients' expectations, or use when they're trying to make decisions about what pathway they should go down.
Okay. That when I looked at their website, I was shocked at how much information, and there's
Yes.
I thought that it was fantastic. And would you say it's SART is specifically for IVF versus like IUI or other
It
treatment?
tends to be more focused. I mean, so assisted reproductive technology does include IUIs, but all of the data that you see is all IVF. You don't see anything from IUIs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they take center specific data, and then do they compare it, or do they compare it to like a national?
Yeah, so they're very much aware of the pitfalls of making comparisons, and they really don't want people to compare clinics to clinics, because it isn't fair, because there are different clinics that have different philosophies and take in different patient populations or use different treatment methods. But they do, what they do is publish or post on their website the national averages. So of all the clinics that report to SART, which is, like I said, 86% of the clinics in this country, you can see what sort of the baseline, like what the average is, what all the data, they compile all the data and give you the overall pregnancy rate of of all the clinics. And then you can see the rates for your own specific clinic as well.
And so is it typically the goal of the clinics to strive to meet or beat that average?
Yes, yes. So that is their mission, and that is our requirement. And sometimes they really focus on quality assurance and quality improvement.
Hmm.
And if a center continually fails to meet these standards that they have set up, they will come in and work with clinics to raise their outcomes. um, they help you, and they work together. But yes, the expectation is that you meet those averages.
And what is the difference between, some of the wording can get a little bit confusing. So what is final year, preliminary year data? How does that work? How should someone read this?
Yeah, it is confusing and it has become more and more complex, which is pretty indicative of IVF in general, which has become more and more complex. But if you go to the website and you do find a clinic and then you click on success rates, you will see that it says final year, and in this case it would be 2018, so it'll say 2018 final, but then you can also choose 2019 preliminary, and that is because the complexities of IVF have increased and more patients are delaying that embryo transfer. So from when it used to be very straightforward, where you would have patients would have a retrieval and then a transfer 3 or 5 days later, many patients are doing freeze-alls where they're freezing the embryos and transferring in a subsequent cycle. There's just more time. So the possibility is that they may not have used that embryo yet. So or they've used it, but they haven't delivered. So the outcomes are still outstanding for 2019.
So they record, say, retrievals, and then they'll record specific other information like retrievals versus pregnancy outcome, pregnancy versus live birth.
Yes. So every IVF cycle, start is considered at the time of the start, which is the start of the gonadotropin. So when patients start their meds, they're watching from that moment. So once the patient starts, that's a cycle. And you can look at it as you can change the denominator, but according to SART, the cycle starts with a start. When they do pregnancy outcomes, it's usually by retrieval. They tend not to do it by transfer, even though that is logical. They're trying to give the patients a better idea of what their outcome is from beginning. So, what's the likelihood that I'm going to end up with a baby? So we as professionals think, well, if they're not having a transfer, how can you look at the pregnancy rate? But it's the overall intent to treat in terms of outcomes.
Okay. And you had said, looking at 2018, 19, you had mentioned those numbers. So how far back, when is 2020 already out or not yet?
No. So the most recent is 2019. And again, it's still preliminary. But it doesn't change. It usually increases because there's still some outstanding pregnancies, but it doesn't change too much. So it's a very good idea of our outcomes. And then they get released. We have to submit all of our data by November, like mid-November, and then they process it and usually publish it around February, March. Okay. So around March, you'll see 2020.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a delay, but still.
There is a delay because aside from all of the transfer delays and getting the data, there's also the gestational period that we have to account for.
Awesome. Is there anything else that stands out to you about SART that you wanted to share? I know that you have been a part of the organization at one point.
Yes, I was part of I was the lab representative for a while. Actually, I just got elected to the membership committee as well.
Congratulations!
So, thank you. No, I think the most important thing is that it's just very underused, particularly by patients. I mean, in this climate in this culture where we just Google everything, I would really encourage patients to go to SART rather than, Dr. Google. I think that it should be the first place, other than their own physician, of course. It's a great resource.
Excellent. All right. Well, so the SART website is sart.org. Mm-hmm. And thank you for being here today again, Dr. Bartolucci.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And our website is yukonfertility.com if you would like to check it out. And we'll see you next time for another Lunchtime Live with the Centers. See you soon.